What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Midwest Outdoors podcast. As always, we are brought to you by Fish Daddy. If you haven't yet, make sure you check out FishDaddyOutdoors.com. Use code MWO10 for your discounts and stock up for all your fishing and ice fishing essentials and put a little more light into your fishing this year. That's right, the inventors and the staple of LED fishing in the industry. If you guys can't light them up, you don't know what I'm talking about yet. So you're gonna have to go over there, check it out, and get some Fish Daddy dirty bombs, or maybe a minnow, maybe a micro spoon, who knows? But there's something there for you guys, I guarantee it. Anyways, we had a lot happen since our last interview. One, we had an individual win $500,000 from fishing. That's right. And we've had a few records caught, both in our backyard. So that's awesome. Plus, weather's changing outside. We had some youth season start. We've had dove season open. We've had waterfowl and goose open. So we got some good stuff going on right now for the hunters, that's for sure. But as for what I was referring to as the tournament, okay? War Eagle to my guy, Tucker Smith, who we just saw at the Elite Series event just a month or two back. For as much scrutiny as these young anglers get for being cheaters because they use forward-facing sonar, it was a good feeling. And I felt so good for Tucker and his colleagues, you know, the individuals that are his age that are trying to fish pro or are fishing pro now, because, you know, the disrespect they get because they have to deal with the advancements of technology is really just so unfair. And the comments I have seen on this kid's posts for years since I've known him. He moved into Auburn, Alabama right as I was getting ready to move out. I went to his house to pick up a fishing rod from my buddy who was living at the house that he moved into his freshman year. So I got to meet him his first day at Auburn, and I don't even know if he knows that, but we'll have to talk to him about that when we get him on the show coming up soon. Long story short, the masses of spectators that love to put negativity into the fishing realm said these kids, especially Tucker and people like that, could not win without their cheater box, aka live scope forward-facing sonar. Well, guess what? He won. He blew out the field. There was huge bags caught, and Tucker was just super consistent, and he did all this without any forward-facing sonar on the boat. That's right. The Ultimate Angler Championship was a tournament down on Gunnersville in Alabama just a week ago, and they were not allowed to use advanced technology. And yet, he still won and pocketed $500,000. The incredible thing about that, just a few years back, he fished with his college fishing partner who had just graduated, okay? Tucker Smith fished with Logan Parks, and they won $1 million. Not to mention his multiple high school championships. I don't think forward-facing sonar was around for all that. His collegiate national championship, and his pro level win. So he's got the biggest ever Pro-Am win, the biggest Pro Open win, has won an Elite Series, which is considered the biggest win you can have on the pro level, won at the high school and college level. I'm sure he won on the juniors level if he competed. So the only thing he's really missing is a championship at the pro level, a Bassmaster Classic. No one else has come close to those kind of stats, and it's really remarkable. Now, some people may have been able to if they had the youth fishing. I'm sure Kevin Van Dam or Jacob Wheeler would have liked to have a stab at the youth fishing. Jacob did fish it a little bit while I was in it, but the scope of the fishing world has changed, and Tucker Smith, whether he has technology or not, has proven that he is one of the best in the world, and the accolades he has to back it up are truly incredible. That was the only tournament. Like I said, tournament season's pretty much over. We might have one more walleye event to talk about before the end of the year. But what we do have is more records. That's right. First, George Thompson. He's a guide out of Nebraska. Well, he was over on the Missouri River on the on the Iowa side, and lo and behold, he wrangled himself a monster. A 105-pound blue catfish. That's right. That is your new Iowa record. 105 pounds out of the Missouri River. Absolutely crazy. Another one, we've got Luke, I'm going to try to say this right, Pipovic, okay? And he has the new Wisconsin catch and release brown trout record, which is so cool because one of my favorite fish, and he did it right in Port Wash where I've caught a lot of my big browns. 34.5 inches, beats the previous record by 1 inch. And the cool thing about this is Luke, this isn't his first experience with having a record. He had one of the most impressive, in my opinion, records that has since been beat, and that was a 32.5-inch catch and release walleye. So someone bumped him out, but now he is back in the record books with the 34.5-inch brown trout, which is truly a crazy, awesome fish. Besides that, guys, we have a quick product review that we are going to send you to. We've got some awesome stuff that was sent to us by Hook for their new products coming out this year, including their fall line. And let me tell you, between the jacket and pants, guys, these are a true winner. But hey, you're going to have to stay tuned through this commercial break and check it out. And then right after, we will be joined by Midwest Outdoors royalty, Ted Takasaki. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Midwest Outdoors Magazine helps you enjoy the outdoors, giving you the best information on where to go, what to use, and how to use it. With fishing maps marked by the pros, nature notes, in-depth interviews, and much, much more. Your subscription gets you 10 big issues of the best in fishing, hunting, and the great outdoors. Plus, Midwest Outdoors Digital Edition gives you dozens of extra articles. Sign up now at MWOMag.com. That's MWOMag.com.
Hey guys, in today's podcast, I'm decked from shoulder to ankle in some Huck products. And let me tell you, we got to test this out on the water the other day, and I am in love with it. First, let's talk about the Crewman insulated jacket here. This is the mud color fitting, but prettiest mud I've seen. Really nice thing about it, it has a nylon outer shell, and they don't really advertise that it's water resistant or waterproof, but I sat in the rain for hours, didn't get wet at all. On the inside here, Sherpa lined. It's great for comfort and warmth, 2 layers of warmth, because it also has 80 grams of synthetic insulation in there. Stay out of the elements and keep warm. Now, as for the bottom, here we have the Icon Pro Performance pants. Now, the beautiful thing about these pants are they were designed by professional fishermen and guides around the country, testing out all the elements and what's important in fishing pants. So, they've got a bunch of pockets, which is always great, zipper pockets as well. They are water resistant. They're SPF 50 plus, and down at the ankle, there's a band that you can cinch tight around your boots so you can stay dry no matter if it's high waves or raining all day. So from a head to toe outfit, you can stay warm and stay dry all season long. If you guys want to check out these items and more of the fall collection of Hook, go to hook.com. That's HUK.com. What's going on, everyone, and welcome back into the studio. And we have a true Midwest Outdoors legend here, a fishing Hall of Famer, and someone who I've seen fishing on TV since I was a wee pup. So, not to make you feel
I'm really old,
not to make you feel old or anything, Ted.
right?
But how we doing today?
I'm just doing great. Yeah, I have just an incredible love for Midwest Outdoors. If it hadn't been for this magazine and the TV show, I don't know where I'd be, but I wouldn't be here. I know that for sure. And I am truly grateful to everybody at Midwest Outdoors, Dan Ferris, Dan Keith, who I don't believe is still there. Is he still there?
He makes an appearance, but he's not technically still here yet.
Okay. But anyway, everybody there, I like I said, it's been a wonderful career of television and videos and radio and everything else, that this multimedia world has thrown at us here lately. And I'm struggling through all this new technology, but somehow I'm able to manage to get through it.
Well, at least you're trying, it's a struggle. It's even a struggle to me and people in my generation. And the advancements, both on and off the water are so incredible. And you see on the bass side of things, where I personally spend a little bit more my attention, you see a lot of, not all, but a lot of the older guys kind of early retirements, kind of doing different things, and the world has definitely changed a little bit, but that doesn't mean you can't catch fish doing the same old things as you always did.
Right. Well, I mean, forward-facing sonar has certainly changed everything. I mean, it has got to be the number one biggest impact on our business and our passion that I've seen in the 35 plus years that I've done professional fishing and being in communications and being the president of a fishing tackle company and everything else. I just can't imagine where we would be today without it. And now when we're in it, it's still hard to believe. So it's one of those things that I need to really fully devote, full-time attention to, forward-facing sonar and how I'm best able to utilize that in catching fish, because if I don't, I'll be one of the dinosaurs that are going to be, the bones are going to be out there in the junkyard somewhere. So anyway.
Speaking of that, I think a lot of people don't know that about you, your background in the bait world and development and such. And you had an affiliation with Lindy for a long time, correct?
Oh yeah, I was president of Lindy Fishing Tackle for 10 years.
Yeah.
We had a great run in those 10 years. We doubled revenue, quadrupled profit, and for a small $5 million company when I got there, that's not too bad.
No, that's pretty good. Now let me put you on the spot real quick, since we're talking about the forward-facing sonar. Okay, if you were still in charge of Lindy today, and everything was going, what would be in your mind the most important product? If you could make one product right now, what would it be?
Well, it would have to be a lure that is optimized for forward-facing sonar.
Sure.
And obviously that's what some of these other tackle companies have already come out with. But it's the technology's here to stay. I don't see it going anywhere. And so therefore you have to adjust and change to the tackle and the kind of presentation that you need to be able to compete. Because I mean, I probably 80% a troller in my career. I mean, I don't mind casting from the front deck or from anywhere in the boat.
Sure.
But I've always felt that running multiple lines, fishing all the time, is more productive than just one line per person. Casting.
Game, right? Numbers game.
So and yeah, I mean, and I've been pretty successful at doing that for the most part. I mean, I probably have trolled 80% of the time and 20% of the time casting during my tournaments. But if I was starting fishing tournaments today, I certainly would be flipping that around, because that is certainly what forward-facing sonar has done for us.
And I don't know how much you've done with it. I've done literally none. I have nothing to speak on it, but I've seen people trolling with live scope and using forward-facing sonar while trolling.
Yeah, you can do it. You need to be able to focus on where the baits are and what the fish are doing. But you can't, it's a little bit more difficult to adjust where the lures are sitting and where the fish are sitting.
Sure.
You know, versus like if you're casting and you see a fish, you can let it drop. You can cast right at that fish. You can let it drop until it gets in front of that fish's face and then start working the lure. Or you can sit right on top of them. And a lot of times these fish don't even really want to bite. You just kind of aggravate them enough that they bite. So,
Yeah.
so that's really that has switched the whole game as far as trolling to casting. That's what's made it a lot different. So, you know, I guess starting out, if I was starting out today, I'd be a caster without a doubt.
And you know, we'll expand on that. You said you've fished for a long time, and the stats would show that you have. And last time I checked, you still have the heaviest bag for 5 walleye, coming in at what, 53 pounds?
53.2. Don't forget the 0.2.
No, that someone might
Yeah,
catch 53.1, so that 0.2 is going to be pretty important on that day.
It could, you know. No, yeah, that was a, you know, that was a fluke year, kind of, you know, on Lake Erie. That's where it was. It was late spring, just a little bit after spawn, and there were still some fish that were spawning at that time. The conditions are absolutely perfect. The water was relatively calm, and it had been pretty dirty just a week and a half before. And then when we got there, it was just starting to clear up. You know, I was just able to start seeing the prop on my big engine. And I knew at that point that, you know, if we didn't get any big winds in the next 10 days or 8 days, that I would have a really good day out of it. Because, I mean, I was just clobbering, you know, 28, 29, 30-inch walleyes one after another. And it was still, we were still getting like 1 or 2 pre-spawn fish during practice. So I was just hoping 5, you know, for that day, I was just hoping for 5, 28 to 30 inches and let it be where it goes, you know. But you know, I mean, I didn't win the tournament though. That's what's crazy about that. I mean, everybody was catching monster big fish.
Mm-hmm.
And I happen to have the 1-day record, but the other days, all I could catch were, you know, 46 and 47 pounds on the 5 fish. It wasn't
Darn, only a 9-pound average.
Only a 9-pound average, exactly.
Not a 10 and a
So
half.
that's exactly it. So, you know, I mean, it's just amazing because I had 4 on at the same time. You know, I mean, I had 4, you know,
Big
4
fish,
fish, 4 big fish that were pulling the boards back and almost sinking the boards. And I just told my co-angler, I said, all right, we just got to take them one at a time. You know, we'll just keep moving forward until we get each one of them in. So we started on the inside boards first, reeled the fish in really slowly, took the board off. And then when I saw the first one, I mean, I'm going, holy moly, this is a big fish, man. Get ready. We netted him, put it on the bottom of the boat, went into the other rod on the other side, reeled that one in, another monster. Got that one netted, threw them in the bottom of the boat, started on the other 2 outside boards, got those in, and I had 4 fish, you know, 29 to 32 inches in the bottom of the boat. And I really couldn't really tell which ones to release. Obviously, the 29 was easy,
Yeah.
but then the other 3 had to go in the live well, you know, so. And well, back then you could actually upgrade too. So I think we put all 4 in there at that time, but that was a long time ago, you know, and
Sure.
and the water's cold at that point. It was post spawn, probably about 48 degrees. So when that water's cool, you know, I mean, you can keep fish alive for a long time. But yeah, that was a highlight of my career. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, you know, not only does the cold water help them stay alive, but Lake Erie, shallower body of water, those fish aren't, you know, usually coming up needing to be fizzed or anything like that.
No,
so.
Exactly. Yep, for sure.
Lake Erie, truly, oh my gosh, we could talk all day about what a fishery that has been. I mean, it's still to this day one of the best lakes in the country, in the world, to catch a big walleye.
Without a doubt. But you know, I'll tell you what, I've lived in Sioux Falls, South Dakota here now for the last 12 years or so. And there's a body of water just 2 hours west of me here called Lake Awahi.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, there's been some gigantic fish come out of there. Our state record came out of Lake Awahi, and it was just a little over 20 pounds, I believe, right around in that area, 20 pound, give or take, 6 ounces. And my biggest now has come out of Lake Oahe, and my biggest is 12 pounds on. Let's see, it was 12 pounds 11 ounces, I believe. It was almost a 13 pounder.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's close only counts in hand grenades and horseshoes.
Right.
So.
We actually had Keith.
I mean, it's not. I haven't caught a teener yet. That's the problem. 12 pounds 11 ounces. It's just not a teener.
Well, that makes me feel a little better. But by the way, we did have Keith Pazur, who caught that record on this show last year.
Okay.
So we got to talk a little bit about it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I told him I want to get out there for ice fishing because a 14 to 16 pounder through the ice. I don't know if anything sounds better than that.
Holy moly! So you have directly talked to Pazur then, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So when somebody just accidentally catches a big fish, a record fish,
yeah,
you say, well, that's pretty lucky. But I understand that Keith fishes that lake a lot of days, lots of hours, and my understanding is it's almost full time being on that lake. So he deserves a big fish like that,
Yeah, and I don't want to quote myself. It's been over a year since we talked to him, but I'm fairly certain either him or a buddy caught a 16 or 17 pounder as well. So I'm not sure if it was his second big fish or just second big one in his boat or that he's seen. But they talk about multiple big fish out there, and yeah, it's just fascinating, and there is interesting, and this is the last thing I'm going to bring up about the forward facing, because I know we talk about it on a lot of podcasts and, just in fishing as a whole these days. But one thing I have seen, big fish have shown up more in the sense of single fish, right? So you got your boys down in Texas that have just been catching insane largemouth bass since the forward facing sonar has stopped. And then you have Keith and some other individuals that, again, I don't even believe, I think he was trolling, but I don't know.
Yes, he was trolling.
Yeah, it was trolling. So it's not forward facing, but again, in the time of forward facing sonar, another giant record. But we talk about your limit that you caught, the heaviest bag, and you go back and look at the Bassmaster, Byron Velvick, Paul Elias, the biggest bags ever caught were long before forward facing sonar.
Forward facing. Good point.
And it's been quite a few years now that it's been out, and the pros have had it. And again, don't get me wrong, there's been some very impressive bags caught since in the pros and in the amateur levels. But it's funny that, more than half a decade in here now, we're not crushing records really with it.
No, good point. I think people are catching more fish.
Yes.
I think that more say amateurs or just your average everyday fisherman off the street that wants to take the time to learn forward facing sonar, he's catching more fish with forward facing than he was without forward facing sonar. It's no different than before GPS and mapping technology, we didn't know where we were or why we were catching fish. Now, we look at a map and we go specific to the fish concentrating areas on the map on the lake. And we were never able to do that before GPS and mapping. So what I'm kind of getting at is I think this technology is, it's good for your average fisherman as long as they adhere to the conservation methods and the rules and regulations of the body of water that you're on.
Yeah.
So as long as the rules and regulations keep up with this technology, there should still be a balance of not all the fish in every single lake are going to get cleaned out is what I'm getting at. I really respect all these states, Game and Fish, and the rules and regulations that are there to protect the fisheries and to allow everybody to enjoy the resources. And I think that is critical. I think it's crucial that everybody pays attention to the laws and the limits and the regulations that are in that state. I kind of wish that everybody had the same rules and regulations, because when you go to a different state, it's different, right?
Sure.
But every single lake is different, so that therefore you can't really have the same rules and regulations. They manage each lake separately. So I guess I'm very happy that we have a Game and Fish. I'm very happy that they pay attention to the rules in order to provide the best experience for every single fisherman out there.
Yeah.
And this technology is just another tool to allow us to find the fish, because you can't catch fish when there's no fish.
Correct.
So management and electronics and technology all combine to make for a better experience for everybody. Because in all the seminars I've ever done, and I ask people, would you rather look at fish or would you like to catch fish? And I said, if you want to look at fish, you go to an aquarium. If you're going fishing, you want to catch fish, right? Yeah. So that's what this technology is out there for. It's to help the average angler find the fish. And that's one thing. Another thing is you can't catch fish that's not there.
No.
So you got to find the fish.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful tool to eliminate water, but we've talked about it more and more nowadays. Some fish seem to be spooked by it now. They'll literally get pushed by it a little bit. You have, and I know I've done this before. You have individuals out there that will waste an hour, a half a day, a full day of fishing, just chasing fish that either A, are not going to bite, or B, aren't even the target species that you're trying to catch.
Good point.
So, it's interesting because my whole life I've been a bank angler. I've beaten the bank, flipping and pitching, frogging, stuff like that. And that's where I'm comfortable. And I feel like my success rate has gone down a little bit because I spend so much time looking at the box, but I don't spend as much time perfecting and learning about it, right? So that's so much of it is repetition, using it, and at some point you can figure out the general size of a fish, the direction they're swimming. You can learn so much.
Exactly. And I mean, that's what these manufacturers want. They want to enhance the experience of every single angler out there. And obviously, if they're able to do that, they're going to sell more units, right? They're going to sell more technology, and people are going to understand it, and they're going to want to upgrade, and they're going to want to move on to the next great thing that these manufacturers are coming out with. It's no different than our boats. I mean, when I first started fishing tournaments, a 16 or 17, tiller with a 50 horse. We had it was a 17 foot or 18 foot tiller, which was, and with a 50 horse, engine on it. I mean, it would only go 30 mile an hour. And then I remember, some of these fiberglass boats starting to come out, these walleye fiberglass boats that were 18, 19, 20 feet long with 150 horse, and I'm thinking, oh my God, those guys can get to the spots a lot faster than we can. And now, you look at what we got. I mean, it's a 400, might not be a big engine here in the next few years. They're just packing more power and smaller with smaller engines, smaller in shape and size,
right, but more
dimensions, and smaller dimensions, packing more power in them. And I mean, the only thing I'm worried about there is that too much for your average angler to manage. I mean, these engines, when you're going over some waves at 55 or 60 mile an hour and you hit a wave the wrong way, it'll catapult the guy right out of the boat.
Sure.
And so they've just people have got to be very careful as they start stepping up into these bigger boats with bigger engines, and make sure that they feel comfortable when they put the hammer down and they're moving at 60 mile an hour, because it doesn't take much for that boat to flip up in the air. And I mean, it's any boat you were talking about. I don't care whose boat you're running, but you've got to be able to manage the horsepower that you have underneath you. And they're phenomenal machines. I mean, you got the big boats, the big engines, the electronics, the trolling motors. The trolling motors now, I mean, Minn
Crazy
Kota
advancements.
Quest.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the Minn Kota Quest, they've done everything to that trolling motor that I ever wanted in my entire career.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got shafts that are long enough to reach down to in these big deep V boats. The shafts are super strong. They don't flex like the old ones did.
Yep.
They got so much power and they can go all day. I mean, my Quest that I use with I got a Minn Kota Quest. It's this, it's got a 72-inch shaft, and I mean that thing will run all day. I mean, on 36 volt, the power management on these brushless motors are so efficient that today now you don't even really need a trolling motor.
Yeah.
A gas kicker is what I'm saying.
No, yeah. And there's so much they do now too, from having the transducer integrated into the bottom of it. I mean, the shallow water anchor feature of having spot lock is so monumental. I mean, we talk about the forward-facing sonar, forward-facing FFS, but brushless, being brushless, having spot lock, real shallow water anchors like power poles and talons and stuff like that, and all these advancements have been made in the last decade or so. And we keep talking about forward-facing sonar, but like, again, there's so many, and putting them all together is what's really made the next generation of fishing, kind of.
Right. There's a tournament that I participate in each year. It's on Lake Winnipeg, Canada, and the typical traditional way of fishing up there has been you anchor and wait for the fish to come along these certain break line areas, and they collect on certain spots, right? Mm-hmm. So we anchor a vertical jig, and when it's a little bit windy or even really windy, you got to get that anchor way up above the wind, and then it's got to be pretty heavy. I've always liked the Navy style anchor, and then you let out the rope and get back to where the spot is, and if you're off by 10 feet, 15 feet, then you got to pull it back up, re-anchor, and then let it haul back out again.
Right.
And then you might be on the other side, or if the wind shifts direction.
God forbid the wind's bad. Yeah, good luck.
Right.
Good luck.
And guess what? Now Minn Kota's got spot lock.
Yeah.
I mean, spot lock, I can get right on that point and hit spot lock, and that trolling motor just takes over. I don't have to throw an anchor anymore. I mean, I've had so many people ask me, does it really work like they talk about? And I said, it does. You just don't need to carry an anchor out unless, there's something, I mean, just for rules and regulations is all you need an anchor for anymore.
And now you've got live scope. And now you have the next version, the evolution, the live scope breaks.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's all just continuing to move forward and get more sophisticated, more technology oriented. I mean, I went to college and all, but these kids today are just a lot more adept at being able to handle this technology than an old pro like me.
He's educated and still getting confused by it.
Exactly.
Midwest Outdoors Magazine helps you enjoy the outdoors, giving you the best information on where to go, what to use, and how to use it. With fishing maps marked by the pros, nature notes, in-depth interviews, and much, much more. Your subscription gets you 10 big issues of the best in fishing, hunting, and the great outdoors. Plus, Midwest Outdoors Digital Edition gives you dozens of extra articles. Sign up now at MWOMag.com. That's MWOMag.com.
But hey, enough of the future. I want to talk about the past a little bit because this is the reality is if I can't tell you what episode it was, I can't say you were for sure the first person I remember, but I have been watching Midwest Outdoors since I was a very small child. One of the core kind of memories from me, watching the Bassmaster Classic once a year, and then Midwest Outdoors, and sometimes even the competition that aired before or right after, But
Sure.
you and Larry Ladowski are two of the faces that I kind of really remember watching when I was younger. And I'll ask you to give you a minute while I finish this. I'm going to ask you what your favorite memory was with Midwest Outdoors.
Oh yeah, I got one right off the bat.
All right. And then I guess more of a rhetorical question. How much damn money do you make on that skins it? Because I just remember that just airing over and over. And I saw so much stuff about the skins it. I remember one day I came in here and I asked Dennis Lapel, I said, "Hey, listen, you ever see that skins it?" And he's like, "Oh, of course. Yeah, we got some back here." And I said, "I have to see it right now, and I'll bring in fish tomorrow," because it just looked like it always was like looked like it worked so well. And here I was a kid, really just learning how to fillet fish, and
Sure.
just painstakingly how long it took, how much waste there was.
Right.
And I remember that being like, not that it was an infomercial, if you will, but like I just remember you promoting that product and making it look so good, whether it
Hey,
was or wasn't, I didn't know at the time, but it sold it. You sold the heck.
oh, I love the skins it. I mean, and I've had both pros and cons come up to me and say, I tried, I've ruined so many fish doing it. Well, I said, all you have to do is look at the video on the internet and go step by step, exactly the way they show how to use it,
Yeah.
and then you won't ruin the fish.
Telling men to follow directions is hard sometimes.
That's right. I mean, nobody wants to read directions, right? So this one is so visual, and once you get it, it makes it so much easier. I mean, there's so little waste. You get, just such clean fillets with very little bones if you just do it right.
Yep.
And it's actually quicker when you got two people, like one person taking the
The
sides off.
assembly line.
Yep,
Yes.
one person taking the sides off, the other guy with the skins it, and I mean you're plowing through fish really fast and not wasting a lot of meat. So it works great.
Absolutely.
So I guess throughout these years, Midwest Outdoors has been such a critical vehicle for me. I mean, when I was at Lindy Tackle, we shot so many videos and so many shows, and our revenue went from 5 million to 10 million in 10 years. A lot of it was because I switched all the advertising budget from all magazine to mostly television and some magazine. So those back then there wasn't any internet, no, and there was no social media or anything. So we had to do everything the old-fashioned way, and that sure worked well. Midwest Outdoors have been such an important partner for me that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Midwest Outdoors.
Absolutely. So just because we were talking about that in between, but the previous question was your favorite memory on while working with Midwest Outdoors over the years.
That's right. All right. This has got to be it. A lot of times we want to get out of boat shots, right? Because you usually have the cameraman in the boat, you catch a fish, you get some great video, and at the same time, it always makes for better video if you put the cameraman up on a dock or on the shoreline somewhere, at least get some out of boat shots. The best thing is that if you had another boat where he can jump into that other boat and shoot, while I'm catching fish,
Yeah.
And so I've had so many people come up and say, well, a lot of those fish, you haven't really caught those fish. And I'm going to tell you right now that I caught every single fish that, we aired on Midwest Outdoors. And if we didn't catch fish that day, there wasn't a show.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
People don't believe that sometimes, but that's the truth, and
Yeah, we don't
the
buy
best
fish. We don't buy fish.
You don't buy fish, right? Exactly. So here's one story that I remember distinctly with Dan Keith, the cameraman. He wanted a better shot, and there wasn't really a good place for him to stand on the shore or on a dock, or we didn't have a second boat following us around. So he saw this piling that was probably about a pole about 12 inches, 13, 14 inches wide in diameter, sticking out of the water. He said, Ted, drive up to that pole and let me get on that pole.
Yeah.
Right. And then I can shoot some out of boat shots. So I put him on the pole and I start moving away. And I mean, immediately he's kind of all of a sudden I'm seeing this camera wave around in the air. And he falls in that water. And the thing is that he had one hand with the camera sticking out of the water. So I had to go over there. I had to go over there and get the camera and then get him out of the water.
Camera first.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what he was doing. He didn't care about if he drowned or not.
No.
He was worried about the camera. So that's probably my favorite Midwest Outdoors memory that I've had over the years.
As someone who dumped a camera the second time I ever went out filming for Midwest Outdoors.
Uh-oh.
I understand. I really understand that feeling of Dan.
Yeah, and back then they were big beasts too. I mean, it's probably, I don't know, 20, 25 pound camera. Today, I mean, what you can almost shoot just as good video on a phone as you can on, a $20,000 dollar camera.
I mean, movies are getting shot on iPhones, full big pictured movies in the theaters,
Right. Unbelievable.
I went around the office asking a few people about what their favorite episode with you was, and not everyone had an answer right away, but we got two major ones that were answered. Dennis, who I think in the office has the most time with you, he said to bring up the bridge fishing in South Dakota. Fishing off of a bridge.
Right.
And then a couple answers were your hand line fishing on the Detroit River, I believe.
Detroit River.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, that bridge fishing here, and I remember exactly the exact bridge moment. And there was a lot. There was the kid standing there, and I mean, to be able to give him a rod, have him cast that from a bridge, and just sit there and jig it, and then boom, an 18-inch walleye is on, and he's got to reel it up, and we didn't have a long net. So he's reeling it up, and then I'm reaching over the bridge as far as I could, to net that fish. And that was probably one of my. I mean, that was it was a great experience and a great show to be able to air to people that you didn't have to have a real expensive boat, or a real top of the line super high modulus carbon graphite rod and the best reel. You just really needed a cheap rod and reel and then walk over to this bridge. And those walleyes, they were really going that particular day. So that was a great experience.
Absolutely. I try to film something, at least once a year about shore fishing, and I wish it was more than that. But that, with the boats and the gear, sponsors tie in a lot more and whatnot. But
well, sure.
But the reality is 80 to 90% of all fishermen are fishing offshore in the world,
Right. Yeah.
And it's how we all get our start. Some are more blessed than others. They have their uncle or grandpa or dad that takes them fishing as a wee kid, But I mean, I was pond hopping and beating the bank for 10 years before I ever set foot in a boat,
Sure. Oh yeah. Yeah. My first fish was offshore. That's when my dad took me, and he didn't have any money to buy a boat, and he just loved going to this little farm pond that was close to the little town that I grew up in Illinois. And in fact, I grew up just probably about 80 miles south of Midwest Outdoors, and in a little town called Chatsworth, Illinois.
Okay.
So Yeah, so I mean I'm very familiar with little farm ponds and little places where you have to walk in. Some of the little ponds I had to walk a half a mile just to
Sure.
get to the
Sure.
pond, And so yeah, no, that was a great experience. And so I've had a lot of great experiences with Midwest Outdoors.
Yeah, and then the other show was hand lining on the Detroit River, I'd assume for walleye. What exactly was that show about?
Right. It's just a power three. It's a three-way system essentially. You've got a main line with a cable, plastic coated cable,
Mhm.
real heavy weight. I don't know. I can't remember what the size of the weights, but they got to be 3 pounds, 2 pounds. I'm not even sure exactly what it is,
Yeah,
but it drops straight down. And then you got the shank with little crevices, and then you have one line that might be 20 feet back, and then down further on the shank, another line that's probably about 10 feet, about half the other one.
sure.
And then you've got either floating stick baits of some sort. Probably that'd be about the best. Raplas maybe, or they have pencil lures, and they got a lot of different kind of lures you can put on the back. And all you do is just reach back, tap the bottom. The reel has got a spring-loaded mechanism that brings it back in as you bring it up.
Sure.
It pulls it in, and then you drop it back down. It lets it go out,
Sure.
and so you don't get that wire all twisted and mixed up. And that's what hand lining is.
Very good.
It's an effective method. I mean I like doing it. I think all forms of fishing are fun.
Yeah,
You don't have to just cast. You don't have to just troll. You don't have to, use conventional rod and reel like we just described the hand lining. Just being out in nature. And one of my favorite, most exciting moments was when I was fishing on Lake of the Woods, and a tornado came. I mean the sky started turning green, and I'm going, oh man, I've never seen this before. But we're fishing in a tournament, so I wasn't going to leave. Well, all of a sudden I look around, there's nobody there. No boats anywhere in sight. And I'm going, where'd everybody go? And then I just kept on fishing and catching fish. And then when I got in, and they said, well, didn't you get the word that there was a tornado? And I said, no, I fished right through the tornado. Didn't even realize it until I got back in the shore. So,
yeah.
there was
Weather's
a lot
something while
of,
out in the water. It's incredible to me. And obviously, you've got a little more experience. How quick it can go from a sunny day to truly dangerous conditions within,
right.
I've seen it happen 10 to 20 minutes before.
Oh, I mean, it can be quicker than that even. I mean, but now with our phones and there's coverage almost everywhere, you can look at radar and
Yeah.
see how bad it is, and whether you should be moving or not, or whether you can even move at all. I mean, if there is a tornado coming, I can't think of a place that you can go to that you'd feel safe. I mean, might even be best on the water rather than seeing a tree coming at you.
No,
So
honestly, if especially if you're on a big enough body of water, because you can kind of, if you have visuals on it, unless you're stuck in a valley or something, I mean, you can kind of drive away from it easier than you probably could on land because you need roads.
well, here's one on Erie, or it wasn't on Erie, it was on Saginaw Bay.
Okay.
I looked up, and there was probably 6 waterspouts, little mini tornadoes, coming at us, and we were way out
Wow.
on the Charity Islands, and there's no way we were going to get back to the launch site. And a buddy of mine, I actually got behind an island, is what I did, and I fished behind this one island. But another buddy of mine was out in open water, and Dale Stroshine, it was his name.
Oh yeah, I know
And
Dale.
he said that water spout came after him. He turned left. The water spout turned left. He turned right. The water spout went right over his boat. And he said it was just like Wizard of Oz. I mean, the tackle boxes started swirling up above off the deck, and the spinner blade, the tackle box opened up. The spinner blades are just kind of circling around the boat, and I
That's
mean, he was screaming.
crazy.
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, his story. He was so upset at the weigh-in because he thought that the tournament should have been called earlier than that.
Mhm.
But yeah, he was really well, I would say excited in a negative way.
Sure, sure, sure.
I mean, how he described the spinner blades, because we have these boxes that are full
No,
of
I can
spinners.
imagine it now. It's like it literally
It's
is in
opening.
like a musical theater number where they're all sparkling and
Right. If you ever seen that movie Twister with those little
yep. Oh yeah.
silver balls,
Yep.
those are the spinner blades going
That
around and
literally that's
around.
exactly what I'm picturing.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And but yeah, like you said, it just is safety first. People think safety first is just not going fast. We were talking about it earlier, how much horsepower and stuff are on these boats now. And I don't mean to be negative by any means, but this year I think we've had two deaths and a couple serious injuries in the college and high school fishing tours. And I know the high school kids aren't, driving the boat, but some of them should, I mean, some of these kids know how to maneuver a boat better than their parents or their coaches do that just kind of get put in this position to be a
Right.
boater or a captain. And these
Right.
college kids, granted there's the big one that just went nationally, the fatal one down south. But you have, God forbid, people on their phones, texting or looking up directions. You got tournaments launching in fog these days sometimes. They don't even wait for the fog to really go away. And then we're talking about all our screens these days. They make these screens so damn big. You can buy a 24 or 30-inch screen now from Japan.
Right.
So it's like, can you even see over that if you're short? I mean, this is serious. Like people aren't talking about this, but there were some comments in this one of the most recent crashes that maybe he couldn't see them. And maybe that's
Hmm.
true, but if that's the fact, that's a problem because
Yeah.
you need to be able to see everything going forward. And when you're going 70 to 80 miles an hour, if you have one of these newer boats, that go super fast, you don't have much time to make those decisions when you're flying that
Not
quick.
at all. That's the one thing about walleye boats. They don't
They
go
don't go
that
as fast.
fast.
No, but they're better in rough water. I
That's
I
true.
personally
Yep.
I personally would have always wanted a bass boat. Like if you asked me if I was ever going to own a boat, what would it be? It'd always be a bass boat. My first boat was a deep V boat. My second boat was a bass boat. I said I'm never going back. Q Q working at Midwest Outdoors, and you start fishing in all elements, and you start fishing the Great Lakes a little more. You start broadening my horizon. Instead of just bass fishing, I was doing more walleye and Great
Right.
Lakes for the salmon. And now for me, it's a no-brainer. It's like I will have a bigger boat, just for the safety and just for the comfort and to stay a little dry because I'm sick of
I,
getting
I
soaked in November going out trout fishing.
yeah. I've fished a tournament out of a bass boat before, a walleye tournament out of a bass boat. I'll never do it again. I mean, you're sitting in a bass boat. I can lean over and just touch the water. I mean, you are literally on the
Yeah,
surface of the
you're on the
water
water. Yep.
compared to where I am on a walleye, walleye boat. And I can't imagine fishing tournaments that low to the water. I guess that's just me. But
And then if you go to bass fish in a deep V, try to start flipping and pitching out of one, and you'll drive yourself nuts because you need to be on the level for that for
oh,
bass fishing
oh,
because it's just a pendulum right over the water and
point. Yeah,
where you
yeah.
want.
Yeah,
Um,
I can flip and pitch. I've flipped and pitched a tournament before out of a walleye boat, so I don't know. I think it's
more
okay.
skills than me, proven, proven. But hey, we can talk about good stories, but I know people always come to the show because they want to learn something. They want a little juice, right? So we are in an in between phase right now that as a bass fisherman has always been a very tough time for me to fish this next month, pretty much. Um, and I don't do a whole lot of live bait fishing, and I think would be the time, I think, if ever, to break out the live bait. But what are some fall tactics and methods that you've used over the years that are something maybe that are forgotten about treasures, or maybe a little a little bit of that sneakiness that you're holding out?
I mean, I guess I don't ever. look at just the lure as being the key to catching fish,
Mhm.
it's always about you have to find a fish.
Yeah.
Find a fish, you can catch a fish. Once you find the fish, you just keep moving around until you find the fish, and then you give them kind of what they want for the year. And it's pretty hard to beat a jig and a minnow. I mean, just a jig, I could probably fish a jig and minnow for walleye all year round,
Yeah.
or a jig and a crawler, one of the two, jig and a minnow or jig and a crawler. And I can fish deep, I can fish shallow, with just one box of jigs. So I guess if I would, give anybody, some advice, find the fish, forward facing sonar, and a jig and a minnow, and that's all you need.
Sounds simple.
Yeah, it is pretty simple.
Yeah.
Right? Because I always tell people you can't catch something that's not there. So you got to find them. I mean, forward facing sonar and GPS are the two things that are really, just opened up everybody's eyes to where you need to be, and then get back to the same spot you were the day before, and then to be able to see the fish and see your lure and how the fish react to it.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
Unreal learning tools, like we were saying.
Exactly, for sure.
Well, we'll press you a little more on some info. And I guess if any of these lakes are super small, you don't, bypass them, because we're looking for stuff that's accessible for everyone. Okay. But if I could make a graphic right now, I'd say Ted's top 5. Okay. If you could go to 5 lakes in the Midwest here, to catch some walleye this fall, what would your list be? And I'd like them all if they're not in your backyard, if possible. If we could,
Lake Wahi and Francis Case Reservoir are two that in the fall and in the spring you can catch them from shore and or from a boat.
That's cool.
So that would be, for walleye fishing, it's spectacular.
Yeah.
Fishing from shore,
Yeah.
as well as a boat. Okay, so that would be, and it's a big reservoir, so you can be any parts of that reservoir, and typically the fish move further upstream in the spring and in the fall, and then more in the main body of the water in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the next body of water would be Lake Erie. I mean, as far as walleye are concerned, there are so many walleyes swimming in Lake Erie that it's just mind-boggling. And all you have to do, again, is find the fish, and you'll catch them. And so in the springtime and in the fall, they come back into the rivers. Mm-hmm. And so the Maumee River would be one of the key spots in the early spring and then late fall. And there's a lot of other small little tributaries all along the southern edge of Lake Erie that you can get to. So that would be another place that's not only accessible by boat or by shore.
Yep.
Yeah, and fishable. I guess the next place would be the Mississippi River. There's a lot of spots and areas along the Mississippi River that have lots of walleyes in it. Mm-hmm. The back channels of the Mississippi River. Now, I would say that it's more accessible by boat than it is by land, because it's hard, because when you got current moving along, these fish reposition and move so much, depending on the strength of the current or the height, the depth of the water, depending on whether there's a big rain or upstream, or they're letting a lot of water through the dam. So that one's a tough one to always just fish from shore.
Yeah.
And then, if you're talking about a destination location, would be Lake, and I mean, boy, I caught my first walleye up in Ontario, Canada. Mm-hmm. One of my first ones, and my first fishing trip was up on Anderson's Lodge up in Lac Seul, Canada. Yep. I mean, you go to Canada and you fish enough, you feel like you're a real pro.
Oh yeah.
Because they're everywhere, right? But what you're trying to do is trying to understand why the fish are where they're at. Sure. And when you're catching them, that that gives you reinforcement. So,
Yeah.
so Laxul in Ontario, Canada, is a spectacular place to go and get out into the wilderness where there's nobody there, and they got some fly out camps up there that you can go to, and that was just it. And it's easy fishing,
Absolutely.
right? You can use your electronics. You can learn how the fish react. You can watch them as they move. I mean, it's a great Ontario, Canada is a great place to go to not only get positive reinforcement, but also to utilize your electronics
And to eat fish.
Yeah. The next spot would probably be the Mississippi River on Red Wing, near Red Wing.
Near Red Wing.
A lot of walleyes in the Mississippi River, and that's where you can learn how to catch fish on a river with moving current. There's a lot of wing dams up there, and I like positioning the boat just above the wing dams. Either cast over the top of them with crankbaits or use 3-ways on the front of the wing dam.
I appreciate you for joining. Honest to God, thanks for everything you've done for the fishing community. I don't know if you ever thought about when it could be a possibility, but we always talk about being introduced to into Hall of Fames are such honors, and I know you got 1 or 2 that you're in, and it's could you have ever imagined, I guess my last question, could you have ever imagined that you would have had a career of fishing and it would have been your legacy?
I'll tell you what, I started out of college and I worked for a management information consulting company for a year or 2. I hated that. And then I got a job at Hewlett Packard, and I love that. I traveled the world selling computer systems and many, small little desktop computers and inkjet printers and the whole works. But from the very beginning, I always wanted to make a living fishing. And that was my goal. I mean, I wrote a business plan for myself, a marketing plan for myself on what I needed to do that, to be able to do that. And, I got to say, I left Hewlett Packard, 15, 20 years ago, and I've been fishing full time and making a living at it 100% from fishing since then. And I've achieved pretty much everything I wanted to achieve. So it's been a great career, great life. And, I've tried to give everybody information that they needed to catch more fish. So, and Midwest Outdoors have been a critical part of everything I've done. And I truly am very grateful to Gene Lallinen and Dan Keith and Dan Ferris and everybody there at Midwest Outdoors for everything that they've done for me. So I'm very, very appreciative.
Well, hey,
thank you.
We're appreciative. Thank you. And fish one more hard season, and then enjoy fishing. Film some more shows. I know last year I saw you do a show in the Snow Bear with your wife. I think that's cool that, we get to show our loved ones, whether it's friends, family members, what we do, and have them actually be involved and a part of it, and a lot of people don't get to do that, especially a professional athlete. I know we're not the top of athlete lists, but a pro football player, they get to make a lot more money, but they can't bring their child or their wife to work for the day on the field, right?
Exactly. So again, thank you very much. I think I've got to get going. So I appreciate the time, and thank you to all the Midwest Outdoors fans and family and everybody else there. So thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, guys, stay tuned. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to be right back to finish this show.
Midwest Outdoors Magazine helps you enjoy the outdoors, giving you the best information on where to go, what to use, and how to use it. With fishing maps marked by the pros, nature notes, in-depth interviews, and much, much more. Your subscription gets you 10 big issues of the best in fishing, hunting, and the great outdoors. Plus, Midwest Outdoors Digital Edition gives you dozens of extra articles. Sign up now at MWOMag.com. That's MWOMag.com.
And just like that, guys, we are all done. Another Midwest Outdoors show in the books. Super cool to get to talk to Ted. Like I mentioned in the interview, he was truly one of the first TV personnels that I remember watching besides Bill Dance and Jimmy Houston, you know? So something cool for me to be able to talk to him and go down memory lane with him, because every single one of these shows, every time I go out filming a TV segment, they are the memories for me. So to help me kind of grasp that and appreciate all those moments, I love talking to individuals that have been doing it so long and get to look back at their career. Huge shout out to Hook again for sending us those products for this week's product review. Hey, for $200, you guys can be decked head to toe. You can be warm, you could be dry, you can be comfortable all fall and winter long. So highly recommend looking into those items. And again, reminder, if the commercials haven't got you, if the intro didn't get you, head over to fishdaddy.outdoors.com. Enter code MWO10 for 10% off and get all your essentials, guys. Before you know it, we are going to be on the hard stuff. We're going to be ice fishing. It just started flurrying up north. That's right. We're only in mid-October and it is snowing up north now. So it's only a matter of time before we get ice. And speaking of ice, guys, we are going to be at the Fish Daddy booth at both the Minnesota St. Paul Ice Fishing Show as well as the Wisconsin Ice Show. So make sure you come out, say hey, and mention the podcast, guys, and you might be able to get a free little treat, all right? Well, guys, that's it for this week of the Midwest Outdoors podcast. I want to thank you guys always for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. And I don't know where we'll be next, but we'll see you guys on the water. Tight lines.